He had a guillotine submission over Johnny Eduardo back in December of 2015. Like I said, pretty back and forth there. His record stands at 13-2, 2 of them KOs, 6 of them submissions. 5'7" for him, 71-inch reach, 27 years of age, so he's definitely got an upside coming for him, most likely. He's fighting out of New York City, like I basically had just said. Actually, I didn't, but Sierra Longo, New York City, purple belt in jiu-jitsu, team that's had a lot of success in the past few days. Renan Barão, like I basically just, kind of broke down that shit. His most recent fight was last September, a unanimous decision victory over Felipe Nover, and that was in Brazil. Nothing fantastic to really say about that. 34-2-1, though, is this motherfucker's record. So, or no, 34-1-1, is that true? Yeah, 34-4-1. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking there. And then that last loss to Dillashaw was actually not his. It's been 3 years now since he was the champion. So, I guess I didn't really do my due diligence as far as that's concerned. 8 KOs, 15 subs on his record. 5'6", going to be an inch shorter, going to have an inch less reach. Although he's the featherweight and Sterling is the bantam. That's interesting to think about right there. Obviously, we know he's fighting out of Nova União. All right. It's basically, to me, both of these guys have high upside and middle range downside. Split decision loss to Caraway and Assunção does not look good for Aljamain Sterling. Undefeated before that, so he obviously had a pretty significant hype behind him, I guess you could say. And then, of course, Renan Barão, that 34-1-1, that was his record when he fought TJ the first time as the champion. 34-1-1. That's no bullshit as a record. Man. So, I will say Barão doesn't look as fast as he did when he was 25, 26, 27. Aljamain Sterling is fast as fuck. I'm going to give the speed advantage to Aljamain, which is not traditional for Renan Barão. TJ had the speed advantage against him. We kind of saw how that worked out twice. I would say Renan Barão is probably a better grappler, although we haven't really seen that much in the UFC, but I would say he probably is a better grappler. He probably has a worse team at this point. 3 years ago when he was the champion, you could make the case that Nova União was the best team in all of MMA overall. They were the best team, the most champions, the most championship contenders. At this point, they've pretty much taken a hit. The majority of the fighters coming out of Brazil have gone into a steep decline since 2014, 2015. I don't know if that is because of the USADA or the WADA anti-doping agency, how efficient, how good they are at their job compared to who the UFC had doing the shit previously. But there is something going on. It's perhaps, they just haven't evolved enough with the times. We saw the evolution of Team Alpha Male when they had TJ and Ludwig together, and then now at High Elevation or wherever the fuck they're at. We've just seen, I think that Jackson's, King's MMA, Sierra Longo, the teams are really, I would say, surpassing Nova União at this point. I thought that Barão would probably be the favorite, seeing as he's a heavier guy. He has a higher pedigree of repertoire. He's done greater things in the fight game than has Aljamain Sterling. But it looks like the fans pretty much are on the side of Aljamain Sterling. And I would have to say that if I had to pick on my life, I would say Sterling via a split decision in what will probably be a banger. Both guys probably get clipped. Sterling, I think, is going to land probably a higher volume. He's going to, just win this by his volume in general. I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them get clipped heavily in the sense that they might get knocked down. If it becomes a grappling match, I think I like Renan Barão. But either way, this should be an exciting fight. I'm not going to bet either way on it, but if I had to pick, I think that I would take Aljamain to win this one here at 140. All right, moving on to what would be the last fight on the undercard. The second fight we're going to talk about, though, also a pretty damn interesting fight here. We're at the featherweight division. And this answers my question from earlier about the rankings. We have number 3, Ricardo Lamas, taking on Hick Diaz. Number 15, Jason Knight, who's fighting out of Alan Belcher MMA in Mississippi, whatever fucking town it is, I cannot remember. Pretty interesting. A lot of hype behind Jason Knight, I will say. 20-2 record. He's 25 years old. 3 knockouts on his record, 13 submissions out of 20 wins at age 25. Pretty spectacular submission artist is Jason Knight. Just recently, let's see, back in May of just this year, 2 months ago, he TKO'd Chas Skelly in the 3rd round with some heavy punches. That was a performance of the night there. And then in January as well, 2nd round, submitted Alex Caceres with a rear naked choke. Performance of the night there. That's back-to-back on his part there. Beat Dan Hooker back in November, unanimous decision. And then last July, about a year ago from now, he won a split decision over Jim Allers. Fight of the night there. Super exciting. Extremely dynamic, especially on the ground with this guy. But he's taking on the truth, man. Ricardo Lamas, number 3, just beat, let's see, he hasn't fought since November after beating Charles Oliveira, 2nd round guillotine on that one. Obviously lost to Max Holloway last June. Beat Diego Sanchez, lost to Chad Mendez, sort of back and forth for him. Recently, he's sitting at a 17-5 record, 4 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's 5'7" for him. He's going to be 3 inches shorter than Jason Knight. 71-inch reach. That's going to be a half an inch shorter than Jason Knight. It's basically the same there. Obviously a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Fighting out of Miami, Florida. All right. When I wrote this down, this stuff 2 days ago, Lamas was a -120, Jason Knight was a +100. As I look at the odds today, Jason Knight is a -125, Ricardo Lamas a +105, so it's switched 100% there. All right, my take on this is Ricardo Lamas is just a traditional gamer. As far as an MMA fighter goes, he is the truth, as I just called him. He probably will never be champion of the UFC, but he'll probably always be floating around there at the number 2 to 3 type of an area, 4 or 5 type of an area. I think that this is an interesting fight, but I think it's probably a step up too far for Jason Knight this quick. He looked fucking awesome, but I mean, submitting Alex Caceres or knocking out Chas Skelly is not really, similar to a Ricardo Lamas, a guy who literally just went to a decision fight with Max Holloway just a year ago. Max Holloway, the champ, who's been knocking everybody out, knocking out Jose. I mean, just knocking everybody the fuck out. So, I mean, I don't know. If you're going to give me, I will say, Jason Knight, if he's going to win the fight, it's probably going to be via a pretty fucking interesting submission. I'm not going to pick that. I think that Ricardo Lamas is going to win the fight, probably a decision, probably a unanimous decision, where Lamas, with his multitude of strikes, is just able to put together a good enough performance to, with his veteran, just being a veteran, just be able to put together a performance that's going to get him the win. I don't know how much better he's going to look. I think that Jason Knight's going to look pretty damn good, but I think that it's probably one step too high, one fight too soon for Jason Knight, and I'm going to pick Ricardo Lamas. And if we're going to get those underdog dollars, I'm going to go ahead and put money on that, I'm pretty sure. Let's move on to the main card of the night. The first fight on the main card is going to be light heavyweight division. It's obviously a setup to go along with the Cormier Johnny Bones Jones fight that's going to be occupying the main event. This is going to be a banger. We have number 3 Jimmy Manuwa and number 5 Volkan Oezdemir. Manoa coming off back-to-back wins, knocked out Corey Anderson in March in the first round, knocked out Ovin St. Preux in the second round back in October. Did get knocked out by Rumble a year before that. Hasn't had a lot other than that recently. 17-2 record, 15 of his 17 wins by knockout. Heavy fucking hands on this son of a bitch. Only one submission, standing at 6'2". Best thing about him here, the 79.5-inch reach. Giant reach for his size. That's why he's got all these fucking KOs. Purple belt in jiu-jitsu, obviously fighting out of London. Volkan Oezdemir kind of came onto the circuit a little bit. He knocked out Misha Sirkunov back in, 2 months ago? Not even 2 months ago. Back in May. He beat OSP by a split decision in February, and then some other shit happened to him. But he's sitting at 14-1. Those are his only 2 fights in the UFC. 14-1, 10 knockouts, 1 submission. Also 6'2", 75-inch reach. So we're going to be giving a 4.5-inch reach advantage to Jimmy Manoa in this one. 27 years old for Oezdemir. 37 years old for Jimmy Manoa. You got to like Volkan for that. And he's fighting out of Florida with the Black Zillions. Somebody's going to get knocked out in this fight. Let me look up some odds real quick here. So when I wrote this, a couple days ago, Manoa was a -220, Oezdemir a +185. That has now changed. Manoa is a -175. Oezdemir a +150, so I'm guessing some dollars came in for Volkan. If I have to pick, this is a lot like the last fight that we were just talking about. If you just look, both of them, the fight before their last was against Ovin St. Preux. One of them won a split decision, and one of them knocked him out in the second round. I'm going to take Jimmy Manoa here via knockout, first or second round. Oezdemir's looking good, and Oezdemir definitely has the ability to knock out Jimmy as well. I love that reach, though, and I love the veteran, just the veteran nature of Jimmy Manoa. 2 fights under his belt for Volkan. Sirkunov, while he was heavily hyped, he really, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't the greatest performance, and then that split decision over OSP. I do like Oezdemir. I like his future, but right now I think Jimmy Manoa is going to win this fight here. Let's move on. Welterweight division. We got ex-champion, number 3 currently, Robbie Lawler, in his first fight since losing the championship last July, almost a year ago, taking on homeboy number 7, Donald Cerrone, at 170. As I just kind of mentioned there, Lawler's last fight was against Tyron Woodley. He got knocked out in the first round last July, lost the championship there. Before that, he won a split decision over Carlos Condit in a fight of the year to defend his belt. Before that, he knocked out Rory in the 5th round in a fight of the year to defend his belt. And before that, he won a split decision over Johnny Hendricks in a fight of the year. The winner of 3 straight fights of the year. Pretty crazy. But, that being said, only 1 fight per year over the past 3 years. 2016, the only one where he had 2, and he ended up losing. This will probably be his only fight this year, unless he wins pretty devastatingly. But yeah, he's standing at 27, 11-1, 20 knockouts, obviously a banger. 5'10", 74-inch reach. He's 35, not getting any younger. He's now fighting at a combat club with Henry Hoof. He's switched from AT&T. Still there in Florida, though. On the other side, Donald. His last fight was a TKO loss to Jorge Masvidal back in January, 2nd round there. Took some punches. Masvidal looked really good. Before that, he was on like a few fight winning streak. Knocked out Matt Brown with a head kick in December. Literally 1 month before his fight against Masvidal. 4 months before that, he knocked out Rick Story with a head kick and some punches in the 2nd round. Knocked out Patrick Cote with some punches 2 months before that. So he's obviously been fighting a lot lately. He's had 4 fights in the last year. Lawler, has had 1. Cerrone's sitting at 32-8-1, 8 knockouts, 16 submissions under his. I don't know that anybody really notices or knew that he has that many submissions under his belt. 6 feet tall, so he's actually 2 inches taller than Robbie. 73-inch reach, 1 inch less on the reach. 34 age, basically the same. Obviously fighting out of Jackson Winklejohn, probably a better overall fight camp, although Henry Hoof is very good with his striking. All right, I got to pick this motherfucker. I love Cerrone, but I feel like Cerrone kind of is not a great counter. I mean, he's a good counter striker, but not really. It kind of takes him out of his mental game. Robbie Lawler, I have never seen him do anything but move forward.